I pull into the gravel driveway just as the sun begins to dip below the tree line, casting long golden shadows across the front lawn. The cottage stands before me, a picture of rustic, charm-white clapboard siding, a wraparound porch with a weathered rocking chair, and a garden overgrown with wildflowers and tall grass that sways gently in the evening breeze. The scent of honeysuckle and damp earth drifts through my open window, mingling with the faint aroma of wood smoke from a nearby chimney. I step out of the car, the gravel crunching under my boots. The air is cool and thick with the promise of rain. Pause to take in the scene. The porch light flickers, casting a warm glow against the fading daylight. A pair of wind chimes tinkle softly from the eaves, their gentle melody punctuated by the distant chirping of crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl. I grab my bag and approach the front door, my footsteps echoing on the wooden steps. The porch creaks beneath my weight, and I notice a small rusted mailbox by the door, its red flag permanently raised. The host's instructions were clear. The key is under the mat. I lift the worn welcome mat and find a brass key, cold and slightly tarnished, resting on the weathered floorboards. Inside, the cottage is cozy but undeniably old. The living room is furnished with a faded floral sofa and a wooden coffee table stacked with vintage books. A stone fireplace dominates one wall, its mantel lined with dusty candles and a collection of seashells. The air inside is thick with the scent of aged wood, old books, and something faintly musty, like a forgotten attic or a closet that hasn't been opened in years. I set my bag down and explore further. The kitchen is small, but functional, with a checkered tile floor and an old gas stove. The refrigerator hums softly, and the faint smell of coffee lingers in the air, as if the previous guest had just left. I open the window above the sink, letting in the cool night air and the distant sound of leaves rustling in the trees. Down the narrow hallway, I find my bedroom a simple space with a wrought iron bed, a patchwork quilt, and a nightstand with a kerosene lamp. The lamp's glass is cloudy with age, and I wonder if it still works. The room smells faintly of lavender, and the wooden floorboards creak underfoot as I cross to the window. Through the glass, I watch the last light of day fade over the garden, the wildflowers now just silhouettes against the darkening sky. At the end of the hallway, I notice a door I hadn't seen before. It's an attic door, painted white with a brass knob that's tarnished and slightly loose. I try the handle, it's locked. There's no key in sight, and the door seems out of place, as if it's been ignored for years. I message the host. Is there a key for the attic? The reply comes quickly. No, sorry. The attic's been locked for years. It's just storage. I shrugged and settle in for the night. The cottage's quiet sounds and shifting shadows wrapping around me like a familiar, if slightly uneasy, embrace. The cottage settles into silence as night falls. The wind has picked up outside, rustling the wildflowers and sending a gentle creak through the old beams of the house. I've curled up on the floral sofa with a book, the kerosene lamp casting a warm, flickering glow that paints shadows on the walls. The fire in the stone hearth has burned low, leaving only embers that pulse with a faint red light. I try to focus on my book, but my mind keeps wandering to the attic door. Why would the host keep it locked? I wonder. What's up there that they don't want me to see? I shake my head, chiding myself for letting my imagination run wild. It's just storage, like the host said. Old boxes, maybe some dusty furniture, nothing more. But as I turn the page, I hear a sound that makes my breath catch a soft scratching, like nails on wood. It's coming from above, from the attic. My fingers tighten around the book. It's just the house settling, I tell myself. Or maybe a branch brushing against the roof. I listen, straining to hear over the steady hum of the refrigerator and the distant chirping of crickets. The scratching stops, and I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. I try to return to my book, but my eyes keep darting to the hallway, where the attic door stands in shadow. It's nothing, I repeat in my head. Just an old house with old noises. Then, just as I'm starting to relax, I hear it again this time. It's not just scratching. There's a whisper, so soft, I almost miss it. It sounds like a child's voice, but the words are indistinct, muffled by the floorboards. My heart pounds in my chest. Did I really hear that, or is it just the wind? I set the book aside and stand up, my legs shaky. The floor creaks under my weight as I tiptoe to the hallway. The attic door looks the same as before, locked, quiet, indifferent. I press my ear against the cool wood, listening for any sound from within. Silence. Maybe I imagined it, I think. Maybe I'm just tired. But as I turn to go back to the living room, I hear it again, a whisper, clearer this time. It's not a word I recognize, just a breathy, pleading sound. My skin prickles with goosebumps. This is ridiculous. There's no one up there. I force myself to walk back to the sofa, but I can't shake the uneasy feeling that's settled in my stomach. I pull the quilt tighter around my shoulders and try to focus on the crackling of the embers. The lamp flickers, and for a moment, the shadows on the wall seem to shift, as if something is moving just beyond my sight. I tell myself it's just the play of light and shadow, but the thought doesn't comfort me. I glance back at the hallway, half expecting to see the attic door standing open. It's still closed, still locked. Finally, I give up on reading and decide to go to bed. The bedroom is cool and quiet, the lavender scent faint but soothing. I climb under the patchwork quilt and turn out the lamp, plunging the room into darkness. Outside, the wind howls softly, and the old house groans in response. I lie awake for what feels like hours, listening to every sound, the creak of the floorboards, the rustle of leaves, the distant hoot of an owl. My mind keeps returning to the attic, to the whisper I may or may not have heard. It's just a story, I remind myself. It's just a story. But as I finally drift off to sleep, I can't shake the feeling that I'm not alone in the cottage, that something, or someone, is watching me from the shadows. Morning sunlight slants through the thin curtains, painting the bedroom in stripes of gold and pale blue. The quilt, rumpled and warm, slides aside as bare feet touch the cool wooden floorboards. Outside, the world wakes slowly. Dew glistens on the wildflowers in the garden, petals brushing against each other in the gentle breeze. The scent of damp earth and honeysuckle drifts through the open window, mingling with the faint aroma of wood smoke lingering from last night's embers. The hallway creaks underfoot, the old boards protesting each step. The kitchen hums with the quiet energy of morning, the refrigerator's steady hum. The coffee maker's cheerful gurgle as it brews a fresh pot. The aroma of coffee fills the air, rich and inviting. A mug, still warm, is carried out to the porch, where the rocking chair groans softly as weight settles into its embrace. Outside, the garden stretches wild and untamed. Sunlight filters through the leaves of a willow tree, dappling the stone bench beneath. Birds flit from branch to branch, their songs crisp and clear in the cool air. The wildflowers, bluebells, daisies, and buttercups nod their heads as a gentle wind rustles through the grass. A path of smooth stones leads through the garden, each step stirring tiny insects into flight. The grass, cool and damp, cushions bare feet. The willow's branches sway, casting shifting shadows on the ground. The air is fresh, tinged with the sharp scent of pine from the nearby woods. Back inside, the cottage is quiet. The attic door stands at the end of the hallway, its white paint weathered, the brass knob tarnished and loose. A hand reaches out, testing the handle. It turns, but the door remains locked. An ear presses against the wood, listening. Silence. Morning passes in a slow rhythm. A book rests on the porch railing, pages fluttering in the breeze. The sun climbs higher, warming the stone steps. A message is sent, fingers tapping on a phone screen. The reply arrives quickly, brief and matter-of-fact. The afternoon drifts into the woods. Sunlight filters through the trees, casting dappled patterns on the leaf-strewn path. The crunch of leaves underfoot echoes in the quiet. Birds call from the branches, their songs distant and melodic. The air is cool, the scent of pine and damp earth sharp and clean. As evening approaches, the path leads back to the cottage. The setting sun paints the sky in shades of pink and orange, the garden glowing in the fading light. The house stands watchful, its windows dark and silent. The front door opens with a soft creak, the familiar scent of wood smoke and old books wrapping around the returning guest. The kitchen comes alive with the sizzle of garlic and herbs in a pan, the aroma filling the air. Dinner is eaten at the small table by the window, the last light of day filtering through the glass. The attic door, still locked, waits at the end of the hallway, silent and still. Night falls, the cottage settling into darkness. The book is picked up again, fingers tracing the worn pages. Eyes flick to the hallway, to the attic door. The house is quiet. The only sound, the rustle of leaves outside and the occasional creak of old wood. The night stretches on, the cottage wrapped in shadows. Night settles over the cottage, thick and heavy. The last light from the kerosene lamp flickers on the bedside table, its flame wavering as if something unseen is near. The house is quiet at first, but not peaceful. Every creak of the floorboards feels deliberate. Every rustle in the garden outside a warning. Then the noises begin. Faint scratching drifts down from the attic, soft and hesitant, as if testing the silence. The sound grows sharp, nails dragging across wood, scraping and pausing, then scraping again. The attic door at the end of the hall remains shut, its lock untouched, but the noises behind it are unmistakable. A whisper seeps through the floorboards, barely audible. The words are unclear, but the tone is urgent, pleading. The scratching intensifies, echoing through the quiet house. The wind outside picks up, rattling the windows and making the shadows on the walls shift and stretch. Steps are heard above, slow and deliberate, pacing back and forth across the attic floor. The sounds stop directly over the bedroom, as if something is listening, waiting. The air in the room grows colder, and the lamp's light dims, casting long, twisting shadows. A message is sent to the host, fingers tapping quickly on the phone screen. The reply is slow to arrive, vague and unhelpful. The phone is set aside, its screen fading into darkness. The lamp flickers out, plunging the room into blackness. The noises from above continue, scratching, whispering, the occasional thud. The night stretches on, each sound magnified in the silence. The house feels alive, its old bones groaning with every gust of wind. The attic door remains closed, its lock still holding. The cottage is filled with shadows and unanswered questions. The night passes slowly, the suspense building with every creak and whisper, leaving the question hanging in the air: what is waiting just beyond the locked door? Night falls over the cottage, wrapping the garden in a hush as twilight deepens into darkness. The last light from the kerosene lamp glows gently, casting a warm circle on the bedside table. The air inside is cool, scented with lingering wood smoke and the faint, it's almost forgotten sweetness of lavender from the bedside sachet. The attic door at the end of the hallway stands as it always has, its white paint chipped at the edges, the brass knob dull with age. The house is quiet but not silent. The wind outside rustles the wildflowers, and the old floorboards creak in a slow, familiar rhythm. The lamp's flame flickers occasionally, making the shadows on the walls shift and stretch. Noises drift down from the attic as they have before. The soft scratch of something moving. A whisper that might be the wind or might be a voice, and the occasional thud, as if something is being shifted or dropped. The sounds are present, but not alarming, just part of the cottage's nightly routine. A message is sent to the host, asking about the attic. The reply arrives after a short wait, just as vague as previous messages. The phone is set aside, its screen darkening. The lamp continues to burn, its light steady and reassuring. The night wears on, the cottage settling into its usual patterns. The noises from above come and go, blending with the sounds of the wind and the occasional hoot of an owl in the distance. The attic door remains closed, its lock holding firm. The air in the hallway is cool, almost crisp, and the scent of old wood mingles with the faint metallic temps from earlier in the evening. The quilt on the bed is warm, the fabric soft against the skin. The lamp's light gradually fades, and the room grows darker, but nothing changes. The cottage endures the night, the attic door still shut, the house as it always has been, waiting for morning. Morning light filters through the thin curtains, bright and clear, chasing away the last shadows of the night. The cottage is quiet, the only sounds the distant chirping of birds and the soft rustle of leaves outside. The kerosene lamp on the bedside table has burned out, its glass cool to the touch. The quilt is pushed aside, and bare feet step onto the cool wooden floor. The air in the room is fresh, tinged with the scent of lavender and the faint aroma of wood smoke lingering from the hearth. The hallway is bathed in sunlight, the dust motes swirling in the golden beams.
Attic door?
stands at the end of the hall, its white paint chipped and the brass knob dull. This morning something is different. The door is slightly ajar, just enough to see a sliver of darkness beyond. The lock is still in place, but the door has shifted as if nudged open from the inside. A hand reaches out, pushing the door open a little wider. The stairs leading up are dark, the air thick with the scent of old wood and dust. At the bottom of the stairs, resting on the top step, is a child's toy wooden train, its paint faded with age, covered in a fine layer of dust. The toy is picked up, examined, and set back down. The attic remains silent, the air still and undisturbed. The rest of the cottage is quiet, the morning light filling every corner with warmth and clarity. A message is sent to the host, a photo of the toy attached. The reply comes after a short wait. The words simple and direct, there is no explanation. It's only a reminder that the attic has been locked for years. Bags are packed, belongings gathered. The cottage is left as it was found, the attic door now closed, but still slightly ajar. The garden outside is bright and alive, the wildflowers nodding in the morning breeze. The gravel crunches underfoot as the path to the car is walked, and the cottage stands behind, its windows reflecting the clear blue sky. The morning is peaceful, the air crisp and clean. The memory of the attic and the toy lingers. But the world outside is calm and ordinary, waiting for the next guest to arrive. The car rolls to a stop on the gravel driveway, the crunch of stones loud in the quiet countryside. The sun hangs low in the sky, painting the clouds in streaks of pink and gold. The air is thick with the scent of lavender and freshly turned earth, mingling with the faint rustle of leaves in the breeze. The house stands tall against the fading light, its stone walls, weathered, ivy creeping up the sides, and wooden shutters framing the windows. The garden sprawls around the property, wild and lush, with roses climbing trellises and lavender bushes buzzing with bees. The gravel underfoot is warm from the day's sun, the crunch of each step echoing softly. Sarah, Mark, and Jess are already there, their laughter drifting from the front porch. They greet each other with hugs and smiles, voices bright with excitement. The front door opens with a creak, and Madame Laurent, the elderly host, steps out. Her hands are wrinkled, her eyes sharp. She offers a polite smile and a firm handshake. Inside, the house smells of old wood and polished furniture, with a hint of dried herbs hanging by the kitchen window. The living room is cozy, filled with antique chairs and a large fireplace, its hearth cold but inviting. The kitchen is small but bright, the scent of fresh bread lingering in the air. Madame Laurent leads the way, her footsteps soft on the creaky floorboards. She points out the bedrooms upstairs, each with a view of the garden, and the bathroom at the end of the hall. The rooms are simple but clean, the beds made with crisp white linens. The windows let in the last of the daylight, casting long shadows across the wooden floors. As the host prepares to leave, she pauses at the door. "Please stay out of the garden after dark," she says, her voice firm but not unkind. The paths are uneven, and the old well is dangerous. She nods once, then slips out into the evening. The group unpacks, the sound of zippers and laughter filling the house. The garden is visible from every window, its flowers glowing in the twilight. The air grows cooler as night approaches, the scent of lavender drifting in through the open windows. Downstairs, the group gathers in the living room, the fireplace crackling to life with a fresh log. The room is warm, the light soft and golden. The house feels alive with voices and laughter, the shadows stretching long across the walls as the night deepens. Night settles over the old French country house, the last embers of the fireplace casting flickering shadows across the living room walls. We're all gathered in a loose circle, Sarah, Mark, Jess, and candlelight dancing on our faces as laughter and conversation fill the room. The scent of lavender and wood smoke lingers in the air, mixing with the faint earthy temps of the garden. But as the evening wears on, the mood shifts, laughter fades, replaced by an uneasy quiet. Outside, the wind picks up, rustling the leaves and rattling the shutters. The windows reflect the candlelight in shifting patterns, glass cold against my fingertips when I reach out to close them a little tighter. The house creaks and groans, its old bones settling with each gust of wind. The air grows cooler, and I pull my sweater tighter around my shoulders. Suddenly aware of every sound, the pop of the fire, the distant hoot of an owl, the soft creak of floorboards overhead. Sarah stiffens beside me. "Did you see that?" she whispers, her voice barely audible. We all turn toward the window, but the garden is a wall of black, the only movement the sway of branches in the wind. The candlelight flickers, making the shadows stretch and twist. Mark tries to laugh it off, but his voice is uncertain, and the unease in the room is palpable. Upstairs, the hallway is dark, the only light coming from a single lamp at the end. My room overlooks the garden, the thin curtains doing little to block out the moonlight. The bed is comfortable, but sleep doesn't come easily. The house feels alive with sounds, the creak of the stairs, the rustle of leaves, the distant hooting of an owl. Then, somewhere in the night, a new sound emerges, a soft, rhythmic tapping, like fingers against glass. It comes from the garden, just outside my window. The tapping grows louder, more insistent, then stops. Suddenly, the silence that follows is thick and heavy, broken only by the pounding of my own heartbeat. I lie still, straining to hear, my senses sharpened by the eerie atmosphere. The tapping returns, this time closer, as if something is moving along the side of the house. The wind howls again, and for a moment, I see the silhouette of a figure against the curtain tall, hunched, and then gone as quickly as it came.
Oh, my breath
Catches, and I realize how much the atmosphere has changed. The house, once charming and inviting, now feels charged with something unseen, as if the night itself is watching, waiting. The hours pass slowly, filled with whispers of wind and the creaking of old wood. Sleep comes fitfully, my dreams haunted by shadows and the distant sound of footsteps in the garden. The experience lingers, not just the sounds. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation, and I know as I drift in and out of sleep, the house is not as quiet or as safe as it first seemed. Morning light spills across the garden, painting the roses and lavender in gold. The air is crisp and sweet, with the scent of blooming flowers and fresh earth. Birds sing from the trees, and the breeze carries the promise of a beautiful day. We set out to explore, following the winding paths between the flower beds, laughter echoing as we take photos and admire the view. But as we round a bend near the back of the garden, the atmosphere shifts. The birds fall silent. The air grows still, heavy. At first, I see only a hunched figure among the bush, Madame Laurent, I think, tending to her plants. But she doesn't move, doesn't respond as we call out. We step closer, and the smell hits me before I see anything else. It's a thick, cloying stench, a sickly sweet odor that clings to the back of my throat and makes my stomach twist. It's not just the rot of old flowers or damp earth. This is something deeper, more primal. It's the scent of decay, of something long dead and left to the elements. The sweetness is almost fruity at first, but underneath it is a layer of rancid meat, rotten eggs, and something metallic like old blood. Duh! The smell is so strong it feels like a weight in the air, pressing against my skin, impossible to ignore. Sarah gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. My eyes follow hers to the figure. It's an elderly woman, her body bent as if she'd been gardening, her clothes covered in dirt and leaves. Her skin is pale, almost gray, her face slack, her eyes closed. The horror of the moment freezes me. She's not resting, not sleeping. She's dead. The realization hits like a punch to the gut, and the world tilts. The smell intensifies as we stand there, the air thick with the stench of death. It's not just the smell of something rotten, but of life ended, of flesh breaking down. The odor is overwhelming, nauseating, impossible to escape. Flies buzz around the body, their wings a low, insistent hum. The horror of the discovery is magnified by the way she is posed as if she simply collapsed in the middle of her work, and no one had noticed for days. Jess starts to cry, her sobs sharp in the quiet garden. Mark pulls out his phone, his hands shaking as he calls the police. I can't move, I can't look away. The smell is everywhere, clinging to my clothes, my hair, my skin. The garden, once beautiful and peaceful, is now a place of death and decay. The horror of the moment is inescapable. The shock, the revulsion, it's a realization that we've stumbled onto something no one should ever have to see. We retreat, but the smell follows us, a haunting reminder of what we've found. The garden is no longer a place of beauty, but of horror, a canvas of life, now marred by the unmistakable presence of death. The air is heavy with the scent of decay and the memory of that sickly sweet. putrid stench will stay with me long after this morning is over. The police arrive with a wail of sirens that shatters the quiet of the countryside. Their voices crackle over radios, sharp and urgent, as they cordon off the garden with yellow tape. The air is still thick with the scent of decay, though the officers seem to ignore it, moving with practiced efficiency. We're herded inside the house, the front door left open so the officers can come and go. The once cozy living room now feels crowded and claustrophobic. The scent of lavender and wood smoke is gone, placed by the metallic tang of police equipment and the lingering stench that clings to my clothes. I can't stop rubbing my hands together, as if I could scrub away the memory of what I saw. Madame Laurent is called to the scene. When she arrives, her face is a mask of shock and grief. She speaks to the police in hushed tones, her voice breaking as she identifies the woman in the garden as her neighbor and dear friend. The officers nod, their expressions grim. They ask us questions. What time did we arrive? What did we see? Did we touch anything? We answer as best we can, our voices shaky, our minds still reeling. The house is alive with activity. Officers move through the rooms, their boots heavy on the creaky floorboards. Radios crackle, and the occasional burst of static makes me jump. The mood is heavy, the air thick with tension. The garden, visible through the windows, is now a crime scene. The roses and lavender trampled underfoot, the once beautiful paths marred by muddy footprints. Hours pass. The police come and go, their radios never silent. At one point, I overhear them saying the woman died of natural causes, her heart perhaps, or a stroke. But the discovery is no less unsettling. The garden, once a place of peace, is now a place of death. The image of the woman, her body bent over the earth, is burned into my mind. Madame Laurent sits in the kitchen, her hands shaking, her eyes red from crying. We try to comfort her, but there's nothing we can say. The house feels different, now haunted by grief, by the knowledge that death has touched this place. The creaks and groans of the old building seem louder, more sinister. The shadows in the hallway stretch longer, as if the house itself is mourning. We're told to stay inside while the investigation continues. The air is tense, the silence heavy. The scent of decay lingers, a reminder of what we've seen. The garden is no longer a place of beauty, but of horror, a place where life and death have collided, and none of us will ever forget what we found there. The day drags on, the house filled with the sounds of radios, footsteps, and the occasional murmur of voices. The world outside feels distant, unreal, as if we've stepped into a nightmare and can't find our way out. Night returns, but the house is no longer the same. The police have gone, the garden cordoned off with yellow tape that flutters in the evening breeze. The scent of decay still lingers, weaker now, but unmistakably. Sickly sweet reminder of what we found. The air inside is thick with tension, the mood somber and heavy. We try to eat dinner, but the food is tasteless. The candles flicker, casting long shadows on the walls. The house creaks and groans, every sound amplified in the silence. The laughter and warmth from our first night are gone, replaced by a quiet unease. We speak in hushed tones, our words measured and careful, as if afraid to disturb the fragile peace. As the night deepens, the atmosphere grows heavier. The wind rattles the shutters, and the shadows seem to shift in the corners of the room. The house feels haunted, not by ghosts, but by the memory of death. The garden, once a place of beauty, is now a place of horror, its paths trampled, its flowers crushed underfoot. We decide to stay together in the living room, the lights on, the doors locked. The air is cool, the scent of lavender and wood smoke almost drowned out by the lingering stench of decay. The night stretches on, each hour passing slowly, the tension never easing. At some point, I look out the window and see the garden in the moonlight. The yellow tape glows faintly, the flowers bent and broken. The image of the woman, her body bent over the earth, is burned into my mind. The horror of the discovery lingers, a shadow over everything. Morning comes at last, the sun rising over the garden. The air is crisp and clean, the scent of decay finally fading. We pack our things in silence, the mood subdued. Madame Laurent comes to say goodbye, her face drawn and tired, her eyes red from crying. She thanks us for our help, her voice barely above a whisper. As we drive away, I look back at the house. It stands as it always has, its stone walls weathered, its garden wild and overgrown. But it feels different. now marked by death, by sorrow, by something I can't quite name. The memory of the woman in the garden stays with me, a haunting reminder of how fragile life is, and how quickly the ordinary can become terrifying. The road stretches ahead, the countryside rolling by. The world outside is peaceful, but inside I feel unsettled. The experience lingers, a shadow at the edge of my thoughts. The garden, the house, the woman, they are all part of a story I will never forget. A story of beauty and horror, of life and death, of a weekend that changed everything. The resolution is not one of closure, but of lingering unease. The catastrophe, the discovery of the corpse, has left its mark, and the world will never feel quite the same again. Morning light filters through the thin curtains, washing the bedroom in pale gold. The air is crisp and clean, the scent of decay from the garden finally fading, replaced by the freshness of dawn. Birds sing outside, their voices bright and clear, a stark contrast to the heavy silence inside the house. I push back the quilt and step onto the cool wooden floor. The house is quiet, the only sounds the distant rustle of leaves and the creak of floorboards underfoot. The hallway is bathed in sunlight, dust motes swirling in the golden beams. The yellow tape in the garden is still visible through the window, fluttering in the gentle breeze, a reminder of what happened. We move slowly, packing our things in silence. The mood is somber, the laughter and excitement from our first day long gone. The kitchen, once warm and inviting, feels empty now. The scent of coffee and bread replaced by the lingering chill of loss. Madame Laurent appears in the doorway, her face drawn and tired, her eyes red from crying. She thanks us for our help, her voice barely above a whisper. There is a fragility to her now, a vulnerability that wasn't there before. We offer our condolences, but the words feel hollow. The grief in the house is palpable, a weight that settles over everything. Outside, the garden is beautiful in the morning light, the roses and lavender glowing as if nothing has changed. But the memory of the woman, her body bent over the earth, lingers in my mind. The garden is no longer just a place of beauty, is a place marked by death, by sorrow, by something I can't put into words. We load our bags into the car, the gravel crunching underfoot. Air is fresh, the sky a brilliant blue, the countryside stretching out before us. For a moment I pause and look back at the house. It stands as it always has, its stone walls weathered, its garden wild and overgrown. But it is different now, changed by what we experienced. As we drive away, the world outside feels peaceful, almost ordinary. But inside, I am unsettled, the memory of the weekend clinging to me like a shadow. The image of the woman in the garden, the scent of decay, the grief in Madame Laurent's eyes, they are all part of a story I will never forget. The resolution is not one of closure, but of lingering unease. The catastrophe has left its mark, and the world will never feel quite the same again. The experience lingers, a reminder of how fragile life is, and how quickly the ordinary can become terrifying. The house and the garden are behind me now, but the memory of what happened there will stay with me, a haunting echo of a weekend that changed everything. I wake up in the middle of the night, not sure what pulled me from sleep. The guest house is quiet, except for the steady hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of old pipes. The streetlights outside cast a faint glow through the thin curtains, painting the bedroom floor in stripes of orange and shadow. At first I think it's just the unfamiliar place or the noise of the city filtering in. But then I hear it a soft creak, like someone stepping on a loose floorboard. I hold my breath and listen. Sound comes again, this time closer, almost right outside my bedroom door. My heart starts to thump against my ribs. I sit up slowly, trying not to make any noise. The room feels colder now, the air thick with silence. I reach for my phone on the nightstand, the screen lighting up as I check the time. 3:17 a.m. I listen hard, my ears straining for any more sounds. For a moment, there's nothing. Then, a gentle tap, like a finger brushing against the door. My stomach twists. I tell myself it's just the house settling or maybe a branch brushing the window outside. But the guest house is small and I know Greg said I'd be the only one here. The silence stretches on. I get up, my bare feet cool against the wood floor. I tiptoe to the door and press my ear against it, listening. Nothing. I take a deep breath and turn the handle, opening the door just a crack. The hallway is dark, the only light coming from the kitchenette at the far end. I step out, my pulse loud in my ears. The living area is empty, the couch and coffee table, just as I left them. I check the front door still locked, the chain in place. I peek into the kitchenette. Everything looks normal. The sink, the counter, the little fridge humming softly. I open the fridge just to be sure, the light inside making me squint, nothing out of place. I go back to bed, but I'm wide awake now. I pull the covers up to my chin and stare at the ceiling, listening. The house is quiet again, but my mind is racing. Was that noise real, or just my imagination? I try to shake it off, telling myself I'm being paranoid. I must have drifted off eventually because the next thing I know, sunlight is streaming through the curtains. The guest house looks normal in the daylight, cozy, peaceful, safe. The night's unease feels distant, almost silly in the morning light. But as I get up and stretch, I glance at the bedroom door. It's closed, just like I left it. I can't shake the feeling that something or someone was out there with me last night. I try to push the thought away, but it lingers just under the surface as I get ready for the day. I wake up in the middle of the night, not sure what pulled me from sleep. The guest house is quiet, except for the steady hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of old pipes. The streetlights outside cast a faint glow through the thin curtains, painting the bedroom floor in stripes of orange and shadow. At first I think it's just the unfamiliar place or the noise of the city filtering in. But then I hear it, a soft creak, like someone stepping on a loose floorboard. I hold my breath and listen. Sound comes again, this time closer, almost right outside my bedroom door. My heart starts to thump against my ribs. I sit up slowly, trying not to make any noise. The room feels colder now, the air thick with silence. I reach for my phone on the nightstand, the screen lighting up as I check the time. 3:17 a.m. I listen hard, my ears straining for any more sounds. For a moment, there's nothing. Then, a gentle tap, like a finger brushing against the door. My stomach twists. I tell myself it's just the house settling or maybe a branch brushing the window outside. But the guest house is small and I know Greg said I'd be the only one here. The silence stretches on. I get up, my bare feet cool against the wood floor. I tiptoe to the door and press my ear against it, listening. Nothing. I take a deep breath and turn the handle, opening the door just a crack. The hallway is dark, the only light coming from the kitchenette at the far end. I step out, my pulse loud in my ears. The living area is empty, the couch and coffee table, just as I left them. I check the front door still locked, the chain in place. I peek into the kitchenette. Everything looks normal. The sink, the counter, the little fridge humming softly. I open the fridge just to be sure, the light inside making me squint, nothing out of place. I go back to bed, but I'm wide awake now. I pull the covers up to my chin and stare at the ceiling, listening. The house is quiet again, but my mind is racing. Was that noise real, or just my imagination? I try to shake it off, telling myself I'm being paranoid. I must have drifted off eventually because the next thing I know, sunlight is streaming through the curtains. The guest house looks normal in the daylight, cozy, peaceful, safe. The night's unease feels distant, almost silly in the morning light. But as I get up and stretch, I glance at the bedroom door. It's closed, just like I left it. I can't shake the feeling that something or someone was out there with me last night. I try to push the thought away, but it lingers just under the surface as I get ready for the day. The day crept to the afternoon. I spend most of it exploring the neighborhood, strolling past brick townhouses, grabbing coffee at a cozy cafe and wandering through a little park with old trees and benches. The air is crisp, the city bustling but not overwhelming. By the time I make my way back to the guest house, the sun is starting to dip behind the rooftops, casting long shadows across the sidewalk. Inside, the guest house feels welcoming again. I drop my bag on the couch and make myself a simple dinner in the kitchenette, the smell of toast and soup filling the small space. Soup is not my go-to, but I didn't complain. The only sounds are the occasional car outside and the hum of the fridge. I catch up on messages, watch a little TV, and try to shake off the weird feeling from last night. As it gets darker, I settle in with a book, curling up under a blanket on the couch. The lamp casts a warm glow over the room, making everything feel cozy and safe. The air is cool, the scent of coffee and old wood, comforting, the occasional creak of the house. Doesn't bother me as much as it did last night. Tell myself it's just the place settling, nothing to worry about. But as I'm about to turn in for the night, I hear it again, a soft creak, this time from the kitchen. My heart skips a beat. I sit up, straining to listen. The sound is faint, but unmistakable. Someone or something is moving around outside the bedroom. I freeze, my breath shallow. The house is silent again, but the feeling of being watched is overwhelming. I grab my phone, my fingers trembling as I unlock the screen, ready to dial 911 if I need to. I don't press call not yet, but I keep my thumb hovering over the button. Then, the unthinkable happens. A loud crash echoes through the house, and the window in the bedroom shatters. Glass flies everywhere, tinkling as it hits the floor. Before I can react, a figure crashes through the window. It's Greg, the host, his face twisted with rage. He lunges at me, his hands outstretched, his eyes wild. I scream and scramble back, my heart pounding in my chest. The room is chaos, the lamp is knocked over, the bed overturned, the air thick with the scent of fear and broken glass. I manage to dodge Greg's grasp and bolt for the door, my hands shaking as I fumble with the lock. He lunges again, but I'm faster. I throw open the door and sprint into the night, my bare feet slapping against the cold pavement. The street is quiet, the air sharp with the chill of early fall. I run without looking back, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The world around me is a blur of streetlights and shadows. I don't stop until I reach a busy intersection where I flag down a passing car. The driver sees the terror in my eyes and lets me in. Locking the doors just as Greg appears at the curb, his face contorted with rage. The car speeds away, leaving him behind. My hands are shaking, my whole body trembling with adrenaline. The driver asks if I'm okay, but I can barely speak. I just nod, clutching my phone, as we drive toward the safety of the city lights. The car engine hums, the interior warm and safe compared to the cold, sharp air outside. The driver keeps glancing at me, concern written all over his face. "You okay?" he asks, his voice gentle. I nod, but my hands won't stop shaking. I clutch my phone so tightly my knuckles ache, staring out the window as the city lights blur past. "Should I take you to the police?" he asks. I nod again, my voice still caught somewhere in my throat. He pulls up outside a police station, its bright lights and glass doors, a stark contrast to the darkness I'd just escaped. I thank him, my words barely a whisper, and step out onto the sidewalk. The inside of the station is bright and busy. Officers in uniform move between desks, radios crackling with static and voices. The smell of coffee and old paper fills the air, mixed with the faint scent of cleaning products. I approach the front desk, my legs wobbly, my breath still coming in short, uneven gasps. A policewoman looks up, her eyes sharp and kind. "Can I help you?" she asks. I try to explain, but my words tumble out in a jumble broken glass. The host, the attack. She listens carefully, her expression growing serious. She calls over another officer, and soon I'm sitting at a desk, a cup of water in my hands. My story being written down in careful notes. They ask me to describe Greg, what happened, how I escaped. My voice is steadier now, but my hands still tremble. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting everything in a harsh white glow. The officers are calm and professional, but I can see the concern in their eyes. They call for backup, and within minutes, sirens wailed through the night. I'm told to stay put, but I can see the flashing lights through the station windows. The officers return after what feels like hours, their faces grim. They tell me Greg has been arrested, that he put up a fight but was subdued quickly. The guest house is cordoned off, the broken window boarded up, the scene secured. Back at the station, the questions continued. I know Greg. Before this, had he acted strangely? Did I see anyone else? I answer as best I can, my mind still racing. The air is thick with the smell of coffee and the hum of activity, but the shock of the night is starting to settle in. Eventually, an officer sits down beside me. "You're safe now," she says, her voice firm but gentle. "We're going to make sure you have a place to stay tonight. You have someone you can call?" I nod, pulling out my phone again. My fingers are steadier now, but the fear is still there, just under the surface. The officer gives me a blanket and a fresh cup of coffee, the warmth seeping into my hands. The station is noisy, but for the first time since the attack, I feel safe. Hours pass as the investigation continues. The officers keep me updated, their voices calm and reassuring. The memory of Greg's face, twisted with rage, is still sharp in my mind. But the chaos of the station, the steady hum of voices and radios, helps ground me. By the time they arrange for me to stay at a nearby hotel, the night is almost over. The sky outside is starting to lighten, the first hints of dawn creeping over the city. The officer walks me to a waiting car, her hand on my shoulder. "You did the right thing," she says. "You're safe now." I get into the car, the seat cooled against my back. The driver is quiet, respectful. As we pull away from the station, I watch the city wake up, people walking dogs, joggers, the first buses rolling past. The world looks normal, but I know it's changed for me. The guest house, the attack, the fear, they're all part of a night I'll never forget. The car engine hums, the interior warm and safe compared to the cold, sharp air outside. The driver keeps glancing at me, concern written all over his face. "You okay?" he asks, his voice gentle. I nod, but my hands won't stop shaking. I clutch my phone so tightly my knuckles ache, staring out the window as the city lights blur past. "Should I take you to the police?" he asks. I nod again, my voice still caught somewhere in my throat. He pulls up outside a police station, its bright lights and glass doors, a stark contrast to the darkness I'd just escaped. I thank him, my words barely a whisper, and step out onto the sidewalk. The inside of the station is bright and busy. Officers in uniform move between desks, radios crackling with static and voices. The smell of coffee and old paper fills the air, mixed with the faint scent of cleaning products. I approach the front desk, my legs wobbly, my breath still coming in short, uneven gasps. A policewoman looks up, her eyes sharp and kind. "Can I help you?" she asks. I try to explain, but my words tumble out in a jumble broken glass. The host, the attack. She listens carefully, her expression growing serious. She calls over another officer, and soon I'm sitting at a desk, a cup of water in my hands. My story being written down in careful notes. They ask me to describe Greg, what happened, how I escaped. My voice is steadier now, but my hands still tremble. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting everything in a harsh white glow. The officers are calm and professional, but I can see the concern in their eyes. They call for backup, and within minutes, sirens wailed through the night. I'm told to stay put, but I can see the flashing lights through the station windows. They tell me Greg has been arrested, that he put up a fight but was subdued quickly. The guest house is cordoned off, the broken window boarded up, the scene secured. Back at the station, the questions continued. I know Greg. Before this, had he acted strangely? Did I see anyone else? I answer as best I can, my mind still racing. The air is thick with the smell of coffee and the hum of activity, but the shock of the night is starting to settle in. Eventually, an officer sits down beside me. "You're safe now," she says, her voice firm but gentle. "We're going to make sure you have a place to stay tonight. You have someone you can call?" I nod, pulling out my phone again. My fingers are steadier now, but the fear is still there, just under the surface. The officer gives me a blanket and a fresh cup of coffee, the warmth seeping into my hands. The station is noisy, but for the first time since the attack, I feel safe. Hours pass as the investigation continues. The officers keep me updated, their voices calm and reassuring. The memory of Greg's face, twisted with rage, is still sharp in my mind. But the chaos of the station, the steady hum of voices and radios, helps ground me. By the time they arrange for me to stay at a nearby hotel, the night is almost over. The sky outside is starting to lighten, the first hints of dawn creeping over the city. The officer walks me to a waiting car, her hand on my shoulder. "You did the right thing," she says. "You're safe now." I get into the car, the seat cool against my back. The driver is quiet, respectful. As we pull away from the station, I watch the city wake up. People walking dogs, joggers, the first buses rolling past. The world looks normal, but I know it's changed for me. The guest house, the attack, the fear, they're all part of a night I'll never forget. The morning light streams in through the hotel window, pale and soft, as I pack my bag for the last time. The city outside is waking up, cars honking, people walking briskly to work, the distant hum of life carrying on. The hotel room is quiet, the bed made, the curtains pulled back. The air smells faintly of coffee from the breakfast tray downstairs, mixed with the crisp scent of the city. I check the room one more time, making sure I haven't left anything behind. My hands are steadier now, but I still feel a little jumpy, like my body remembers the fear from that night. The hotel has been safe, but I'm ready to leave Boston behind. Downstairs, the lobby is busy with travelers checking out and staff bustling about. The front desk clerk smiles as I hand over my keycard. "Have a safe trip," she says. I thank her and step outside, the cool morning air sharp in my lungs. I take a cab to the airport. The ride is quiet, the city slipping past the window brick buildings. Tree-lined streets, the occasional glimpse of the harbor. The driver asks if I'm here on business or pleasure, and I hesitate before saying neither, really. He nods, sensing the story behind my words, and lets the silence settle. At the airport, the world feels both familiar and strange. The crowds, the announcements, the smell of fast food and coffee, everything is normal, but I feel different. I check my bag, go through security, and find my gate. The waiting area is full of people reading, chatting, or staring at their phones. I sit by the window, watching the planes taxi on the tarmac. My phone buzzes a message from the police, letting me know Greg is still in custody and the investigation is ongoing. They'll keep in touch, but for now I'm free to go. I reply with a quick thank you, then tuck my phone away. As I board the plane, I think about the guest house, the attack, the fear. The images flash in my mind, the crash of the window, Greg's face, the run through the cold night. But as the plane takes off, climbing above the city, I feel a strange sense of relief. Boston shrinks below me, the buildings and streets fading into the distance. The flight is smooth, the cabin quiet. I lean my head against the window, watching the clouds drift by. The world outside is peaceful, endless blue sky and sunlight, but inside, I know something has changed. As the attack has left its mark, a shadow I'll carry with me. When I get home, my apartment feels safe and familiar, but I check the locks twice before I settle in. The days pass, and the fear slowly fades, but it never quite disappears. I'm more cautious now, more aware of my surroundings. The memory of that night lingers, a reminder of how quickly things can turn. I talk to friends about what happened, their faces full of shock and concern. They tell me I'm safe now, that it's over, but I know it's not that simple. The world is different, now less predictable, less safe. But I'm still here, still moving forward. The final reflection isn't about closure, but about learning to live with what happened. The attack, the fear, the night I ran for my life, they're all part of my story now. The memory of Boston will stay with me, a haunting reminder of how fragile safety can be and how quickly the ordinary can become terrifying. But I'm still here, still standing, and that's enough.